All right, hello. Uh, Welcome. It's been a couple of years actually since I last tried to stream. So we are testing out a new setup tonight. Because the last setup that I tried a couple years ago, it was on an older, much older computer, and it nearly melted it. We got a couple successful streams out of it, but it was working hard. Um, so I have a computer that's new, much newer than that, and a few other things to try to see what we can, if we can make this a little bit more successful this time. So, welcome. And one of the things I'm doing, and I'm trying to see if I can keep tabs on everything here, is that I have a small tablet up to the side here so I can see the Stream Manager and the chat. And I think the only trick to that is that I'm not used to it. So if you guys notice something that I'm not adjusting quickly enough or something like that, let me know. I'm trying to see if I can see viewers anywhere just because it's nice to know when folks pop in because not everybody puts stuff in the chat, and that's fine. Um, okay, let's see. 3 viewers, and that's on the website, which is only so helpful because I don't have that screen up at the same time. So we will see. So for those of you who are watching, welcome. Tonight, while I figure things out, this is going to be kind of a chatty, chill, co-working kind of stream, except I know co-working streams tend to be usually fairly quiet, um, or at least like periods of time and stuff like that. I tend to chat, so this is going to be sort of a chatty thing. If you want some background noise, or if you're working on something else on your own, or if you are just interested in, I run a small business. Um, I'm going to an art market this weekend. It's a 2-day holiday market, so I'm doing some show preps. If you've got questions and things, throw them in the chat. I would love to answer some stuff. Because let's be honest, a lot of us learn how to do this the hard way. So anything I can do to kind of make that a little bit easier is great. Let's see. Okay, trying to see what I can see on this screen. I can see the chat. I'll get used to this eventually. One day I will adjust this. I think for the moment we're just gonna do the cheater thing. I do have 2 monitors, so I can at least kind of handle it this way. Um, it just does make it where the one monitor I'm trying to really pay attention to has the camera right in front of it, and that way I actually look at you guys. Okay, let's see. All right, so we're just gonna run with this. If you guys notice any sort of audiovisual things, I am doing my best, but obviously this is new. So if there is some sort of an issue, let me know. Like I said, I'll adjust on the fly if I need to. But otherwise, let me go ahead and I've got sort of a list of tasks because I leave tomorrow. It's not very far away, but I am staying overnight with family. So it means I need to be ready to go tomorrow by like noon. And so that means there's stuff to do. I got harder things out of the way, thankfully. But like one of the things I have to do um, is QA, like quality assurance on some new products. This is, if you're looking, this is my PO box. This is not my real address. No worries there. But I ordered a restock of Post-it notes, and I have a new design in here. So I need to kind of go through, check everything, make sure they all look okay, make sure none of them printed wonky, take the little flap off the top of it, um, and then find the new design somewhere in here because it seems like they kind of layered it where like I've got my elephant design uh, all on top, but I can kind of see in here that they're buried in. So, you know, gonna go in and do that first. I also have some wooden, um, they're gonna be magnets that I got printed, and I have to gonna kind of go through and quality check those, and glue the magnets on the back. And I do have sort of like a box nearby so that the glue can vent outside. It doesn't take me that long to glue. So I figure I'll just time that right before we take a little bit of a break, and then I can just shoo it away. Because I have windows open or whatever, but it's cold. I don't want to have it. You know, my place is okay at the moment, but if I have the windows open for like all night, that's no. So we're gonna put it outside. Okay. So let me go ahead and switch over here. There's also like checking signage, other like there's a list. There's a list of things. So here we go. I've got my camera, and actually this is my phone that even though the phone is actually it's only a 10. It's actually not uh it's kind of an old phone as far as phones go, and yet it apparently can pair with OBS and work as an overhead camera, which is great because my doing this with my DSLR, first of all, the problem I would have is that slowly the camera arm would sink, and so the DSLR would just like slowly sink and in the overhead shots. Um, but kind of put some of these back here because I don't need to have everything in the camera view, just the ones I'm working on. But I am gonna have to like sort these because I can see that it's not they're not in stacks, so I need to kind of do the thing. Um, but yeah, let's see. There's some more in here. Um, but yeah, so we'll put that off to the side. I think what I'll do is I'll put things in stacks and then probably put them back in the box, and that way it's a bit protected. I do have a container. Um, so the designs I usually have will kind of, oh, that is absolutely upside down. Um, the ones I kind of pull out quickly for to put on my, I've got like a peg board that I put little baskets in, and I put these in. I have these, and I kind of have these separated out. So, I do have a bin for quick access, but this is a holiday market. It's only, I mean, we're like 2 weeks away from like Christmas. I know Hanukkah starts up before Christmas this year. You have Yule, all the stuff. So this holiday market can sell quite a lot. Um, which if you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, it's the Carytown Holiday Market. So if you're around, come out and see us because there's a bunch of vendors. We food trucks. It's going to be great. It looks like the weather is going to hold too. There might be a little bit of snow, but I will take that over freezing rain anytime. Um, okay, let's see. Oh, okay, I found one of the new designs. So here is this one. I only printed about like 10 of these. Um, my thought with it was just to see if it went. This is actually an ornament design that I kind of repurposed. I do hand painted ornaments every year. And this year, actually, I'm starting a thing where each year I will um, take the design and retire it at the end of the year. Because what I do is I will, but I don't want to retire necessarily the artwork, just the hand painting. Because now I've got several designs, and the problem I end up with is that uh, the designs are made to be something that I'm going to start peeling while we do this. That way I actually get things done. Wasn't that the point of this stream? Actually, was for me to do things and get them done. Um, but yeah, so part of this is that I would simplify designs. Let's kind of make a sticky point here. And I'm checking the sides, just make sure there's no weird printer things. Sometimes you get, see if I can, I don't know if I've got one in this set, but I know in my other set I've got one where sometimes the printing is slightly off. A lot of times it's not enough to be an issue, but I'll notice it on the sides. I can check. Um, so that's something I'm keeping an eye out for. But yeah, so each year I make these ornament designs. They are much more simple in concept and in execution than my regular paintings. Like stuff like this, the original elephants painting for this, I mean that took weeks. Um, you know, the ornaments are made that I can kind of just bang them out, and I can really go through and just try to make sure that Um, they're hand painted, so they're nice, but it's like a cheaper price point. It's like an easily accessible thing for someone who wants original art, but can't, buy like a $400 painting, that sort of deal. So, that has a little bit of a spot on it, but it kind of, mm, I might, because I'm seeing this here. Like if you guys can see, there's a little issue there and a little issue there. Um, they're minor, but I will point out that a lot of times if you point out things to, because these are through Vistaprint, because it's actually the official Post-it thing, and it's hard to get bulk pricing on this, but they're the ones who do decent bulk pricing. Um, so a lot of times if you keep track of the ones that have little issues and then send them photographs of it, sometimes they'll just reprint it. If it's like one, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just kind of mark it into B grades and it won't be that big of a deal. But if I'm noticing a bunch of them, then I will make a point to say something, but I'm not seeing, I mean, until we start going through, there's quite a few here. So let's see. All right, that one looks okay. These elephants, let's see, there's another little spot. That one actually kind of blends, like the way with the dark colors on this, sometimes you do get a little bit of off printing. I'm going to kind of put it in the same, but it's like that, it's getting nitpicky, So if it's this, like I said, if you could see a definite like ding kind of on it, that's one thing. Maybe I'll make sort of a spot for like the nitpicky. This I don't think people would fuss over because it sort of when you like I said I'm zooming this in on camera and pointing it out, but if you were just holding it in your hand right now, you're the way the camera versus real life, this is not showing up as brightly, so I don't know that people would really notice it. So we'll kind of make things that I actually have to pay attention to as far as B grades and things that are just me being an obsessive artist. So we'll just kind of do that. So we'll put the B grades that are probably an issue here, and we'll put nitpicky things right here. So I'm kind of putting it off cameras because I'd rather you guys see like what I'm doing in the designs. The elephants are like they sell. My best friend actually commissioned those years ago, and it was an anniversary present for her parents, and they her dad was in the military, did a lot of traveled around the world, that sort of thing. That just didn't cut well, but that's fine. That just came right off, so we're not even gonna fuss on that. Um, but they would go as they went around, they would collect elephant things. So they would have like they had a last I was at their house, and it was a couple years ago because they don't live in Virginia. But there was this whole display case, and it had all these like little elephant things from just all over, all the places that he traveled and all the places that they moved. And so she wanted an elephant painting for their anniversary. And so this is obviously altered to give you a space to write, but like this is actually one of my top sellers. So I always joke with her that like you are the reason that my business, uh, like the saving grace of my business a lot of times if a product flops are these elephants, just because they they always sell. So even if the product isn't the greatest, they always sell in one shape in some way, shape, or form. Okay, the tulips always do well too. Some of these are restocks. If you were here a little bit earlier, I kind of showed you my little basket, and that was actually all I have left of the post-it notes, was that little basket. I had done, earlier in the year a restock, like some of the ones that were more like I think the planner sort of ones, the habit tracker, things like that. I had more of those because I had done a restock. Um, I think that's just okay. What I've done with these and why I'm paying attention, because it shows up weirdly sort of on camera where that looks like a very bright dot. Um, and it's not as bright on my thing, but I do want to compare real quick. No, it's on these two. Um, and this has never caused a problem with people, so I'll compare the old one to the new one here because it's the same files. So in theory, it should be printed the same each time. So it's not showing up, it's showing up very brightly on on the camera, and that might be the iPhone settings. I, like I said, the DSLR, I can kind of tinker a little bit differently with the settings. This, I'm not entirely sure. I have to kind of play with. But I know when I take pictures with my iPhone, it seems like it always like, I don't know, there's something distorted a little bit with it. So those dots are not showing up as brightly, but it was throwing me on the camera. What I've done, because this painting, I think I have a sticker nearby to kind of give the idea of what it is in full. There's also like rotating images, but I don't know where we are in that slideshow. But this is the whole thing. There's no space to write. So what I've done is I've actually taken the tulips and I kind of made, this is how I made my washi tape too. I made sort of a repeating pattern with like bits of the tulips. Um, but to get the background pattern, I basically took a snippet of this and I kind of put it in the back. So it's like just a snippet from it. So it's actually like the paint patterns, if you really wanted to like match it up where it is in the painting. I mean, I took a very small section, but then I overlaid it so that if it was like if you got any weird texture things, this little overlay usually kind of gets it. But that's probably a paint splatter dot somewhere in here because like you can see there's like little flecks and what I mean, there's lots of details in my paintings. This is how I I don't do anything halfway when it comes to like the detail stuff. So, but yeah, so it was just showing up weird on camera, but it doesn't usually cause any issues in person, which is nice. So I will figure out camera settings at some point, but I'm just going to end up making notes as we go. Again, if y'all are noticing anything weird, um, as far as audio and whatnot, you're welcome to let me know. Um, just because I did some test runs, but until you do it live. That was the trick last time too, was that when I did it live was when I noticed literally like everything crashing and burning. Like I'm hoping OBS's test system and whatnot, like being able to kind of see how it goes and the fact that this is a newer computer. Like the other computer I was trying to use at the time, it was a 10-year-old computer and it was not spec'd for any of this. So it definitely sounded like I had like some kind of airplane engine going on. It was it was freaking out so much. Let's see, we've got that one here. So we've got a couple of Post-its, got our stickies. Make a pile for that. Um, okay, and we'll grab our next section, which looks like it's got more elephants. Like I said, they're kind of stacked. Um, just, like I said, how it goes. So, okay. But yeah, so it's one of those things that the people who like really lean into streaming and make it this career, I do have a lot of respect for that because it does take so much work to figure out how to like get everything to run and do everything well. And I think I want some of this off to the side, so it doesn't get too high. But yeah, you know, trying to run with it, trying to see what I can do. I did get the Atom vertical plugin that's free. I haven't tried to stream on like Instagram or anything yet, and I don't even know if I qualify on Instagram, so it may end up being TikTok. I don't know that I am skilled enough for multi-streaming. There's one of the planner ones. Yeah, so to-do the to-do list I was running out of, the habit tracker, I've still got a bunch left. So we'll start kind of shifting, create a different pile here. Yeah, I checked those edges. So we're good. But yeah, it takes quite a bit to kind of figure this all out. But I think we're getting the hang of it. It's just kind of getting back into it. And um, one of the things that drove me crazy last time is that I had a I have a DSLR that I use mostly for taking pictures of my paintings to make prints and whatnot to get those high quality shots. But it has like a web streaming function that if I hook it into the computer, like there are ways to get around it as far as like it does have a an out where I can, like USB-C or whatever, where I can just do this and it'll function. And I have like a third party like battery override where instead of having a whole bunch of batteries, I have like a cable. So it doesn't, because that was the thing that got me was the batteries would go dead quite frequently. But part of my thing with that is that when I paint, it's acrylic paint, it's wet paint, there's glare. So in trying to get rid of that was an issue. And I'm trying to work on like the lighting. Like right now, the lighting is actually fairly dim in here. I would like it doesn't look that way on camera. Like I'm looking at my easel behind me and everything, and it seems fairly bright on camera. It isn't, you know, it's like a nice chill atmosphere in here at the moment, but I wouldn't want to paint with this low lighting. Like it would distort. So that's something that um, I would have to figure out doing. And once you have more lighting, you get more glare. And I do have like softbox filters and things like that. So there are ways around it, but I haven't tested it out. I did get someone suggested a polarizing filter, and there was a really cheap one. I was not recommended to use it when I do like print photography, just because it's not going to be like if you're using a really high quality one, like it's going to be super clear. Like you can use it on your macro lens, get those really zoomed in shots. But if I'm streaming, I don't I don't need that level. You know, most of y'all are probably watching this on your phone. Let's let's be real. Like you want good quality, but you do not need to like have it the same level of what would be blown up into a wall print. Um, so that is something that I'm tinkering with, but my phone might be able to do this. I have to see how that glare is. Because if the glare is there, then, you know, I might have to go back to the DSLR, which is fine. I didn't take any of that stuff off of OBS. I just kind of, muted the things I wasn't using. But I would have to tinker with it. I think the filter would help. It seemed like when I was test running with it, but I wasn't expecting my phone to sync up and do this. But if it's distorting stuff like it is right now, where things seem much, much brighter, like I said, these little dots are showing up. Like it's something almost with like the contrast, where this is much more muted in person, where like I'm not upset about it, but I'm looking at this and looking at camera, I can see it right there. Um, so there's something with it, and I don't know if that's something I can adjust either with maybe putting a filter on my camera in OBS, which I can do. What does that to see? It's I like that it's showing up brighter because it does mean that I don't have to have the lights in here like ridiculously bright. I could have them comfortable. Um, it seems like the webcam's doing a good job of that too. So maybe the thing too would be to see if the webcam could do my artwork possibly if the phone doesn't work. Because the webcam doesn't do bad with it. I've done overhead on that. I have an easel, so it doesn't have to be overhead, but it's small enough that it could actually hang in some sort of funny way. Um, like I could angle the camera arm and it wouldn't slowly sink to the ground. Like I like my DSLR, it's very, very handy, but it definitely needs to be like on a tripod, standing up, very well supported. If it's anything where it's at an angle, I just I don't have the heavy duty thing, so it'll just slowly just so we'd be doing a stream and it would just be like every so often I would have to just readjust stuff. Um, so which I would prefer not to do. This one's getting kind of tall. So we'll put a pile in here for that. Let's see. If any of you guys who are in here want to let me know what, or let the group know what you're working on. If you're just chilling out, if I'm background noise to something, just, curiosity, see what's going on. Feel free. Just because I'm talking, I just don't want it to sound like a dead stream. But this absolutely can be a conversation if you have questions or just want to throw out what you're working on tonight. If anything, I mean, relaxing is also valid. Uh, So thank you if you're watching and this is even just background noise for you. I appreciate it. So let's see, we'll put this here. Um, so it looks like they put elephants on top of every pile, and then it's just a matter of finding all the not elephants. And so, but I did get a good number of them because they sell. And so one of the things I will have to do, and I don't think I have it ready to go for this, so maybe I'll have to check my things. But so maybe like a stamp or something. But I usually put like a little sticker on the back with my shop and stuff like that because I put a business card. Like every time people buy stuff, I give them a business card. But you know, people lose those. So it's nice to have it on the product too. So I just don't know that I have the labels. I think that's the one thing that in my planning, even though I sort of waited last minute on some of, I mean, this is easy. The hard stuff was done earlier, but I forgot about the labels. So I did not do that. So I need to probably put that on my list. Looks like we got some more tulips. I don't know if I'm gonna have it done by tomorrow though. But I have, besides the new snowman ones, I do have other ones that are ready to go. So it could be something that, if at least maybe I'll check my supplies, but I think I will have to get label paper. Um, but at least even with, I mean, because like I said, I could write it on here, um, but at least with the label paper, it comes out nicer. Um, but it is one of those things where it's just like, uh, I don't know that because I don't know what I'm staying with my brother and I don't know what his setup with the printer and whatnot is, and I don't know that I want to mess with all that, but it is something that can be wrangled in one way or another. Well, that's getting tall. I might have from my washi tape, I had made a bunch of small sliver like stickers with my website and whatnot, and I put them on the inner hoop of the washi tape. I might have some of those lying around. A lot of these designs match up with that, but I could like trim them smaller. Um, That way it would just be instead of like this one definitely has like Hope in the Storm is the name of the painting. So I could put like it would match the washi tape. Like it would say Hope in the Storm and then like my website. But that is one of those things that I might have that handy. Some of it wouldn't line up because I don't have washi tape matches for all of this. Not all the designs work for washi tape versus post-it notes. Um, so, especially since I'm working mostly analog and then like adjusting things digitally, that's something that, factors in. If I was just doing this digitally as like vector art or whatever, I could make it work for practically anything. But I do not do that. I work with actual paint. So I'm always a little jealous of the digital artists that like can create these like really pretty things that that they can use on like whatever will print, that sort of thing. Let's see. All right, another stack. This one's a small stack. Let's make a pile for our snowman because he's in here somewhere. There's not many of him, but like our snow person. But there's not many of him, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, that pile's getting a little tall. I'm trying to fit this all back in the box so that it closes nicely and everything's all contained, and then I can just take it with me. Like I'll fill up my little thing, um, but this is nice to have backup, but I could leave it like I have like suitcases and like a giant like tote sort of thing, and I can sort of leave that until I need it, which is great. Um, just because, sure, I can have stuff out and about, but anytime I can leave stuff sort of a step behind, or it's a holiday market, so I'm just not like these little things. I'm just not always sure on how they will sell. I don't think I'll sell out of any of the the big like maybe this one. Like there's only like a couple of these compared to the others. But the if in theory, if I had enough, I could leave some where I'm staying and then like restock for Sunday. Um, but I think what's going to end up happening, just because I think what they're saying the better chance of snow would be on Sunday, so I think I might end up bringing more stuff with me on Saturday. And so, but like if it can stay in the car or if it can stay, like I said, in the suitcase or whatever, it's one more step of things being protected because stuff happens. Little kids grab things, weather, whatnot, you know. So thankfully I haven't had too many things get damaged over the years. Um, but I am sort of proactive on that. Like I have an education background as one of my one of my degrees. Um, I have 3 degrees, but so like I have an elementary like well K through 12 music, but like I did more of the student teaching in like elementary. Um, and then I was a children's librarian for a while. So like it's I usually can like spot when a kid is about to do something. Um, and so, you kind of get that extra sense for it. Um, so I've been able to like thwart some of the stuff. Thankfully, because my paintings are acrylics, this has one of those nitpicky spots on it too. But it's again me being nitpicky, so I'm just gonna see how I feel about it. Let's see. Nope, that's fine. But yeah, that that's a little bit of a snag. That might I don't know that that's gonna be noticed. A lot of times, what artists and like various production people will tell you when you're doing things that like B grades, if you hold it at like arm's length, do you notice this thing? And the problem with that is that I always notice the thing. So, um, this one, like I said, it's showing up really well on camera, but um, yeah, so it's one of those things. But how did we? Because that is not the original file. That one's really light, so I was willing to let that one pass because like I notice it, but yeah, it's not the print file. So so yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it's always worth a shot. Sometimes Vistaprint will, if you show them photographs, they'll kind of just reprint stuff. Um, or like, I mean, even like a coupon or whatever. But I've seen from other people where they've reprinted if it was enough of them. I don't know where that threshold is. I had something happen once, but it was like it was a big problem. I'm trying to remember. I think it was something with like some of the hang tags I get for like the jewelry and stuff that I have, and like a bunch of them were misprinted. It was several years ago, so like I can't say that I could use that totally as like my threshold because that was like a whole order problem. Um, but like I said, it's worth sometimes reporting. If it's only a couple of them, I'm not going to be that picky about it. Um, they might just get marked, like I said, as a B grade if it's something that really annoys me. But even then, most of these are, I still have 5 stacks to go of like the size we've been going through. But like so far, I'm not seeing anything too outlandish. I mean, it is a thing. Like it's just you are printing, you are doing stuff. There's gonna be things. Okay. Speaking of, get another stack. It does seem like, though, from my standpoint, working with these different printers and the files and stuff like that, it does seem like the elephants have more problems. I think sometimes these things, because you have such dark colors in some of this, it seems like that causes an issue. I know there's been some products I've looked into where it's like, oh, this type of paper, you can't do really dark saturated colors. And I'm like, great. Because I wanted to do notepads at some point. Because people like the sticky notes. I have like some letter sets that I literally print here and like hand cut with a little thing. And that's it's fine, but that's a lot of ink and it's a lot of work. And that's something that absolutely could be outsourced. I just wanted to see if it got any sort of traction, and they do okay. I think really the community on that, like that would be something maybe I only bring so many of them to markets. Um, Maybe that's something that I kind of like try to get with people who really like the people who do letter writing, because I try to make sure that if I can find a printer that it would a lot of this stuff actually works decently well with fountain pens, but like your home printer for me, like I have an inkjet that you could write with a fountain pen on it, but it's gonna like be twice the size, like it's gonna be twice the thickness of what you thought your nib was gonna be. But like if I lean into like the stationary people who really like enjoy this stuff, then I'd kind of want to lean into that, but my printer won't really do it well. So but I ran into things where I looked into just seeing if I could get samples from some places, and it was like I ran into a bunch of places that were like, oh yeah, like, because obviously this stuff is all very saturated colors. It's all very bright. Um, I was trying to see if I can go through smaller businesses than, Vistaprint. Um, but like one of the ones I looked at flat out had on their website, like you can't do like this paper doesn't work well with dark colors, and I'm like, okay. That's unfortunately everything I have is saturated colors. So, you know, it is it is the thing. Um, like we can kind of do let's see. It's just the paper sticks out a little bit, but it's not a thing. Okay, sometimes that backing paper just gets a little bit misaligned. So it's not really a misprint, it's just the alignment. All right, more elephants. We'll do this. Put some over here. But yeah, I had requests for like people liked the letter sets, but they kind of would prefer to have like a notepad, was what I got. Like, oh, I could use this for writing letters, but the fact that it was like very much an old school letter set, it was like, well, I could just use a notepad too, which like is fine. But I think that may be something that I end up having to go through. The problem is like a lot of like the small businesses really will let you do where, I've gotten things where like the stuff that I get, the wooden earrings and the pins, and now like I said, the wooden pieces I've got for the magnets, that company has bulk pricing, but they let you include the like it's not just the price for per design. You can put like they do have like some of them have an adjustment based on what it is. Like the wood cutting stuff, there usually is like a slight price increase if you've got like instead of one design and like 50 items, if you have like three designs and 50 items, it's like a little bit higher, but not as high as if you did 10 of each one. Vistaprint does not care. All of these designs count separately, so that does irritate me. It also, from a budget standpoint, it's something that I have to keep in mind. Because if I order enough to hopefully, sell them at a decent price, but also, not sell them like super high, because doing small runs can be that way. But I'd like to be able to put it like I am trying to do some wholesale. And that means you have to have a lower bulk price because you are then selling it as a lower bulk price to other people like shops and whatnot. So I'm trying to figure that out, but like I said, it may end up being Vistaprint. but we'll see. It's not something I'm worried about right now during the holidays. I will fuss with it later, but I'm hoping a lot of my print on demand stuff comes through Printful, and I really like them. I like their quality. I haven't had bad products from them, which is great. Like this shirt that I'm wearing right now is my artwork. This is the only thing that I kind of find maybe a little questionable, um, just because I got it to test. I get hoodies and stuff from them, with like this design and like another one on it, and it's a recycled polyester because it's sublimation, and that is very bright, very saturated, like fabulous colors. The problem ends up being that people want cotton and not polyester. And I get that. Even when it's recycled, some people are thrilled that it's recycled because then it's like, okay, well, then you're reusing stuff that would have otherwise, been in a landfill. Um, but there are some people who just won't touch it, whether it's because of the sensory thing or whether it's because, the conviction of I don't want to touch any non, um, any synthetic fibers and whatnot. Which great. But this, they're trying to do an all over print that is, because this is not just like the front of the shirt, it's all over, where it's cotton. And they don't tell you exactly what their process is, I'm sure, because I mean, I looked for people who did sublimation and stuff on cotton, and it just didn't, it didn't exist. So I'm sure they're holding on to that trade secret very tightly right now while they do everything. Um, but it does seem like it's a different fiber. It's going to be a different thing, but it doesn't feel quite as soft as the recycled polyester, and it's not quite as bright. Like it looks a little washed out in comparison. Uh, I don't know that people would care, but I would probably put a side-by-side picture on my listings just because the people who do care, I need to make sure they know it so I'm not dealing with, you know, angry people. But most of the time they print really good stuff. They do have notepads, but there isn't a bulk pricing for it just yet, and their one-off pricing isn't isn't something I could wholesale. Like the price on it would be too high. And I don't know that I'd have to kind of see, like I don't last I looked, and it was a newer product for them. So the price might go down over time, but like it wasn't a level that I could put in my shop and reasonably make a profit. So, you know, 'tis the nature with print on demand. The prices are the prices per item are higher, but I can have a variety of products that I wouldn't normally have. Like those hoodies, I would never be able to do clothing through anything other than print on demand, just because like most manufacturers want you to have like orders in the hundreds for that. Um, and I cannot store that, cannot pay for that. So, you know, mixed bag. Anyways, I see that a couple of you are still hanging around here, even with my rambling. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with me as I have procrastinated a little close to the sun, but we're getting there. Let's see. We look good. I think what I'll do, because we're getting close to the end of the Post-its here. I've got like a stack and a half left. Um, so I think what I'll do is just these. So I think I'll finish these up, and then what I'll do is I'll grab the wooden things, for the that's gonna be the magnets. That way I can get those set up, and then I will glue those, and then that'll probably take us, I'm gonna say optimistically, to like the hour and a half, hour 45 mark. Probably a good spot for like a break and whatever. Um, but yeah, so that might work, and then I can just take, like I said, take those magnets directly outside once I glue them, because the gluing will not take long at all. But I don't want to have more windows open than I do right now. Why do I have a notification that my stream is unstable? Is it unstable? Are you guys seeing problems? Because OBS isn't giving me a warning. Twitch is giving me a warning, though. Trying to watch, but I'm not seeing delays. Maybe it's in drop frames. Nope. I'm not seeing any reported in OBS either. I mean, this thing is sending at like 60 frames per second, which is probably unnecessary, to be very honest. That is probably unnecessary. But yeah, let me see. I'm gonna check my notifications real quick because, hey, come on. I need you. Just because if no one's saying stuff in the chat, but sometimes I have friends that decide they're gonna message me instead, but I'm not seeing anything. Just seeing the normal silly notifications. Um, yeah, okay. Well, if anyone sees problems, please, please, please let me know. It could just be Twitch saying things. I guess I'll find out in the replay. But if anyone sees problems, please say something. Because right now it's saying unstable, but that's just Twitch. Everything else is fine. Again, I do think I probably could bump the frame rate down because I get it if you're playing video games and like you need it to match or whatever, but like I think this just defaulted to 60 frames per second and I was like the test ran fine, so I was like, well, let's just see what it does. Um, and I'm watching with a delay over on my other monitor and like it doesn't seem like it's having a problem. Like I'm trying to do things to like make sure that I'm not seeing lag and whatnot. Okay. Well, again, if you guys notice something, fine, let me know. Otherwise, I will just, I guess, figure out later what what it is. I don't know if that's just a Twitch thing. So, let's see. And that little modeling is just sometimes the printer thing, but that's not a thing. I'm not worried about that. I know some people that get nitpicky and get on them for like the edge stuff, but like if you're still able to like really do this and it's not an issue, then you know, it just like I said, I don't know anyone who looks at the post-it notes at that in that kind of way as a consumer. And I'm not seeing the other print issue that I sometimes ran into. If I can find just to compare. Yep, got some red on top over here. So these are from like the last like batch that I ordered, and you can see where there's that white strip. Now, I was afraid that it was going to be like pages that just didn't exist, but it's not. It's just like, for instance, it's just like that's just a little bit of an overhang. I think there's one or two that have like a wider strip, and it's like this when you look at the individual pages, it's this teeny tiny white strip. Like I, I'm really not gonna fuss that much over that. If someone complains, I guess I'll deal with it, but like the whole image is there. Like that's not a blank page. It's not really a problem in my mind with that. Like, you know, but I'm not seeing anything like that with this. Like I think it's funny that like I guess to me in my mind that I will kind of fuss over like little, you know, edge things and whatnot, but like a smidge of a white border is not gonna make it or break it for me. But again, I've only seen a couple of those ones with a little edge on it, so like, and we're almost done. Like, I'm probably not going to worry about those. Those may be things that I just, like I said, put it as a B grade. They usually the B grades go pretty quickly because people will always like a deal. So, um, so it's not usually too big of an issue there. Let's see. All right, getting here. The wooden magnets, at least the bases on those that I've got, um, they have a protective film on them, so I'm gonna have to use. I usually use like tape to help pull it up. So I'll show you guys how I do that, just because it's quicker. I do know that there is like a tutorial somewhere where people have like that packing tape with like the little strips in it, where it's like the really heavy duty packing tape, and they'll put that like on the table and then run the magnet over top of it. Not the magnet, with the part with the film, and then they'll do that to try to like get things off faster. But I'm not buying a roll of packing tape, specialized packing tape that I otherwise do not use. Um, just for the occasional thing like that. And even then, I don't know, just it feels like that would probably just make my table sticky. So, okay, we're doing pretty well here. And so, yeah, there's not too many of these snowmen. Um, I know I had pulled one for like I got off to the side that is definitely for like photo shoots and then like my own usage, but like I need to make some product photos and stuff for it, especially if they like sell. I need to have one um, to see. But the other thing would be, um, like I said, I always like keeping one for myself to just kind of actually have my own post-its to use. And so, last one. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's get the rest of these in the box. Those little ones with the little bits of flaws, I'm not going to worry about those. I'm going to kind of put them off to the side and I'll mark them as like B grades, but just the ones with the little, I've only got 3 with that little edge problem. So we'll just kind of keep these in their own little stack. Everything else can go back in the box. Actually, we will do this too. So uh, that's way too close to the camera. Okay, so here's my little bin. I need to pull, because what I'll do is I'll put the snow people in here, and I'll try to put the newer ones on the bottom so that we've got. Okay, so this has got habit trackers, tend to go quickly, so we'll kind of put a few on the bottom of that there. We'll do that. Shift this. So let's grab a few of the to-do lists, or I could fit a few more. I just like filling up this bin so I have it ready to go, and that just makes life so much easier when I have to set up, especially like I'll get to set up my tent and like a couple tables, like just the basics tomorrow. And then the trick will be that I get damaged. You can see the edge on that. All right, so that's just me. Like I said, never quite satisfied. Um, that over here, and then I need a couple of tulips. So, but the idea would be that I can start loading in the morning. I start loading tomorrow afternoon, and then the next morning I will have to put like my actual products and stuff in there. Um, I'm just gonna shift this. I'm not gonna be like that. So we've got this ready to go. The lid is, I think, in the other room, but we'll just put it off to the side. And then I have my box, and after the restock, and I'm just not going to bring the B grades with me, but everything is kind of all nicely in here. I've got my couple of extras from the other bin. And then I think what's going to happen here is once I close this, I might have to turn Post-it notes. Surprisingly, they are sold as 3 by 3, but they are not exactly 3 by 3. They are close, but not quite. Um, which means that sometimes you have to finagle with the boxes because I, of course, don't remember exactly how I put them in here. Let's see, will this close down? Again, if anyone's new watching, that is my P.O. box. That is not my home address. So that is not a problem for it to be on camera. That is the address on my website. Okay, so let me grab the magnet stuff. Okay, grab. So I have my box of magnets. We're going to put that away from the technology for the moment, along with the glue. And then I have this, because the glue will be last. Okay, again, any addresses are my P.O. box, so that's not a problem. And then Zap sends stuff in what I like to call as little burritos. So I have one bag open because I just wanted to make sure that the basic, like I didn't see any, you know, obvious damage. Um, but so you get these like bags, and then they put the stuff in there. So yeah, so you get this, but see like the film on this. So that needs to come off. It's a protective film, and so you technically could like leave it on while I'm traveling and doing shows. But the problem is if there's a print problem, I'm not going to see it. So say like one of these designs does not sell and it just sits for a while. If I don't take that film off and there's a problem, I'm not going to be able to report it. Like I wouldn't have been able to see it. So I like taking all the film off, and then I try to be careful with where I put stuff and what, how I store things. This also has like, I don't have that great of a sense of smell, but I can smell just a little bit of like this slightly burnt is how this goes, which is from the like laser cutting, and you can see like the edges, but that's why they put the protective film in there, and there's film on both sides, so we get to remove that. We'll do this. I usually grabbing, I have a whole bunch of like masking tape, and this is actually like a little bit stronger than normal. Like usually masking tape I think of as not really doing much damage to stuff. This could actually like rip paper and whatnot, but I'd gotten a set for like a presentation I was doing, and we'll kind of slide these back. Um, and I needed red for like color. See, I just grab the tape, stick it on there, and it many times pulls this right up. But I figure what I'm doing with this is that I've got the design in the front. After I remove the thing, I'll put a magnet on the back, and it can just stick because they're decent size magnets. So, all right, we need. I guess we're going to put that on top of my pile of the sticky note covers. Just make piles of. Sometimes you really just kind of press it on there. There we go. When it peels, it peels. It's like it's not an issue. Okay, so we'll start making a pile of things. Let's see if I can get all four, because I think I've got 5 designs in here. So let me see if I can, like, I remember what I ordered, but it's 11 o'clock at night. I don't quite remember what I ordered. There we go. These are sizable. Like, I wasn't quite sure if I really wanted to go, like you pick 3 inches, but like your longest distance, whatever it is gonna be 3 inches. So technically, like I said, those are the same size, but this one just has more, like, obviously, like girth to it. Um, so, but I like the idea of making some location specific things just because one, those tend to do fairly well wholesaling, which is what I'm looking at getting into, but also like people like having stuff for places they've been, or, I'm in Virginia. Baltimore's not that far. And I have a Norfolk one in here. I probably, because I'm in Richmond a lot for shows, I probably should find something to do with Richmond, um, but I'm not sure. Like I know there's literally a Baltimore Oriole, like that, like it is both the sports team and it is the actual name of the animal. So that helps. Sometimes like landmarks, but can work too. I have to kind of see. They're my elephants. So I have to kind of see what I can do um, as far as that goes. DC is another place I could like. There's places in Virginia that I could do. I just know that I do a lot of shows in. Um, we'll kind of maybe put that over here so it's on camera when I do stuff. Where are some of the? I know I've got a Norfolk one in here. Oh, there's one that's already partially peeled. So these sometimes will peel. Like you might find one of each design peeled because they'll kind of test. They'll QA their own work and see if it make sure it printed and cut okay. So like they'll take it off the front, the back will still have the film. So somewhere in here, I know I've got a Norfolk one. I may have to get new tape. You do go through some tape on this. I do pretty well as far as not like being able to use the tape over and over, but you know, it is, it's one of those things where it just really does not peel up well on its own otherwise. So, and one of the things I'm looking for is I'm kind of, you'll see me wiggle this. I'm like checking to see if I see any imperfections. It is wood. You are printing on wood, so you are going to get some texture. Like this is, you kind of see the way the light is going across it. There's some texture. Um, so I mean, like you're going to end up with that. There should be, there's a Norfolk one. I think I may have done a fifth design, but I don't remember. We'll find out. We'll find out what I did. Because, like I said, I had this idea. I had designs ready. Okay, so this is the Norfolk, and what this is, if you're not from like around here, there is a pagoda garden. This is actually one of the few watercolors I've done. Um, but there is a pagoda garden in downtown Norfolk, and it's a sister city thing, and so it's actually like a place that a lot of the locals know. So this actually ends up being a high selling design for me, just because there's not too many things with that landmark on it. People will put things with like the Battleship Wisconsin on it, and we've got like there's other stuff around. Obviously, southeastern Virginia has all the beaches and things like that, and there's stuff in like Virginia Beach, like there's statues and like the King Neptune statue at the ocean front and whatever. Um, did I have? Maybe I just had four designs. Did I? I know my brain was thinking five would be great on a display, but I don't know that I had five designs ready. Because it has to be able to have this like cutout thing and work. But again, we will find out when I flip through if I am just misremembering um, what I did. Because I thought I did five. Or maybe I wanted to do five. I was looking at doing, I have a little geometric crescent moon design that, uh, you know, does well, but I don't think I had that ready. And I always have to kind of be careful with it because it does better as like a die cut with the crescent moon, but that makes it's one thing if it's a sticker. It could be kind of cut like that. But if you need something to be have like some kind of structural stability, um, then having something with really like a crescent moon with very sharp points that come to ends, like that's it can be more prone to breaking. So I have to kind of figure that out. And I know I haven't done that yet. So there we go. Oh, that's starting to rip on that side. It's just very satisfying. It is just very, very satisfying to sit here and peel this every time I get stuff from them. So I know this is one of those things that obviously it takes time. It can be kind of annoying when you, again, have waited, have pointing at myself. I have procrastinated, Um, but it's not a bad task to kind of have to do. It's very chill. If I wasn't streaming, I would probably have like, you know, a podcast or a long YouTube video on or something, or a movie, something like that. And this is usually good fodder for that sort of thing. Okay, seeing a lot of the peacock. Here we go. It does like take like it is on there. Like I am having to pull to get this to come off. Um, so it's both kind of nice that like this protective film does not come off super easily. Because I know people who do like the acrylic charms and acrylic based things sometimes will leave the film on the front, um, so that people buy the since that scratches much easier. Um, so it's like nice that it's going to stay on and be protected. But you really do have to kind of like, if you're going to do that, you have to kind of coach people on like how to take it off, and that it's there. But with the wooden ones, because it looks burnt, you know, that can be a deterrent. So I usually try to be good about spotting that sort of thing. There we go. Let's see. How are y'all's nights going? I know I've been working on this for like over an hour now, kind of doing show prep. So, like I said, I feel productive. I feel like I feel like I'm in a good spot, even though I did wait. I did wait till the day before I need to leave. But yeah, what are you guys working on? How was your day? Might need another piece of tape. I think the one thing that's not going to happen as far as getting stuff done is that I did get some fabric for tea towels printed. Um, and like it's not hard. I've already washed the fabric. I ironed it today. I would need to pin it. I would need to sew it. It has just been years since I've really used a sewing machine. So I do think there is some level of that may not happen, um, in a timely fashion for tomorrow. Unless like I literally find I have nothing to do tomorrow morning. Um, and I'm certainly not bringing the sewing machine with me. They would only be sample products anyways, like they wouldn't. Like I know the Spoonflower fabric is good, so I don't worry about like with this shirt, I'm trying to like wash and wear it and see how it goes, do the colors fade, like that sort of thing, because it's a new process. I'm not sure what it is, but Spoonflower, they're fine. I'm not worried about that. Um, it's more of do I have the time to do the thing? And I don't know that I do. It would be nice to have a couple of them. Like I said, it would only be like I think it's four designs and I have two of each design. Basically, I did their like, you know, fill up a yard and I filled the yard with two with like basically four fat quarters um of designs. But like, to test it. Uh but like once I learn how to do that, once I because I think my biggest thing is not the actual sewing part. I have used a sewing machine that was already set up. And it's only like, I mean, you're like, besides mitering the corners, which is not that hard once, I reminded myself how to do that. Um, but it is one of those things where this machine, because it's a little baby machine that I bought, I figured if I did enough sewing, then I would worry about like maybe getting a used actual sewing machine, something like that. I used to have one in middle school because I took sewing classes, but that was a massively heavy, you know, clunker of a machine that like it worked, it did the job, but it didn't have like I didn't keep it after a certain point because it didn't have more than I think like the one stitch, um, which is very limiting. But I think before I go down the rabbit hole of like buying more equipment, I need to see if I actually want to like do the thing. Um, but I think my thing is I have to remind myself, how do I set up a sewing machine? How do I thread it? How do I deal with like how it works on that, getting the tension right, that sort of thing. So like that's gonna be the part that takes me a minute, and I don't know that I have time for it tomorrow. If it's something that I find I have a few minutes and I miraculously get it right on the first try, because I'm sure I could find a YouTube video, I know they're out there, where it's like, here's how to quickly set up your sewing machine. And like this thing is not like we're not talking this is not a complicated like embroidery machine with, you know, eight stitch like eight color threads on it or whatever. Like this is a one thread and done. So you have the two spots for it basically. Um, so if I miraculously got that right on the first try, then I think I could go through pretty quickly. But that may be something that I have to just do after this. Like I said, it would be a lovely product to have. It's very practical. I do think as far as selling things right now, uh, in America, in Virginia, that has so many federal workers and so many people laid off, myself included, uh, functional products are really helpful. Because then you can buy pretty things, but it also is like, like I use tea towels. People use tea towels. They use them as hand towels in the kitchen. They use them for various things in cooking. Like you use it. Um, so that's always a handy thing. This really is just satisfying. Like this is one of those tasks that I really do enjoy. Um, and it's like it's one of those things that you would think this would be really bad on my arthritis. I have rheumatoid arthritis. It's in a flare at the moment, which is always fun. Um, so it does affect my dexterity and my hands and whatnot. But this, because the tape is involved in so much, it really makes it where I don't have to do too much pinching and grabbing. Like I can use larger muscles and stronger joints for this, which makes it nice. This is why streamers have those reminders to hydrate, because I've had this cup of tea for an hour and 20 minutes now, and it is still substantially full. So, although I do like this teacup, I don't know if you can see this, but it actually has like a resin in it. So it actually ends up being where you can see the tea through it, which I think is really cool. It does mean I have to hand wash it, which I usually do with a bunch of my teacups anyways, but but it's fun. I like it. But my tea is definitely tepid now. It is not warm. So when I go to like put stuff outside, I will need to make another cup of tea because it is definitely colder than usual for December here. We had snow this week, which I know some places, like I have friends in Chicago and Boston and whatnot, they've had snow. They've had snow. This is how it goes. Uh, my section of Virginia, for those of you popping in and out, southeastern Virginia, Hampton Roads, if we see snow, because I think last year we never saw snow that actually like collected on anything. Um, if we see snow, it is late January, early February. Like it is in that range. It's not unheard of to have snow. I feel something on that, but I think that's just yeah, it's just that when you have the wood stuff, like you're not gonna be able to see because I can't even see it, but I can feel it, which is fine. It's a magnet. You don't as long as you don't see it. But there's like a little bump. But it's a wood product. It's a wood product, and this is actually maple. It's like a sustainably harvested maple, which is really cool. I like that they have like eco-friendlier options. But like I said, you do have to kind of sit there and play with the imperfections that happen with wood. Um, so which thankfully doesn't seem to be this seems to actually print really well. Um, I found when I did my pins, my wooden pins, instead of enamel pins, um, the issue I had with those was that I had my crescent moons, but I had made them like a circle where I had like a dark blue piece on it. Um, I don't know. Probably not my best design as far as doing that, but I really wanted it to be stable and not to break. But I think it works better as a die cut. But I mean, people do like it. So I mean, it's you're always pickiest with your own stuff. Um, is how I take it. Like I always want to make stuff better, and I feel like that's part of why I do this. But because if you don't have that mentality, like you're probably not going to enjoy making products. Um, but I know I nitpick. I know I absolutely know I nitpick. But those I actually had more B grades with, not because like the printing had like it wasn't the printer's fault, but because you're printing on wood, and because the blue I had used to fill in that circle. Um, was both dark, but it also like it would sometimes sit in the wood. So sometimes they were noticeable, like you would be able to hold it and see this noticeable like dip in it. And so I was like, okay, so printing on wood, I need to like not have huge swaths of solid color. And that's not hard to like fix, like there's ways to do that. To like put because I have so many texture things and whatnot anyways that like I could take an ornament version. Like what I should have done is I should have taken the ornament version I have of that one, which is on a square, but it has like flecks of stuff all around it with for more interest, and use that and maybe just rounded the corner so that it wasn't a sharp corner sort of square. But I don't know. But I noticed like more problems with that it really was just part of the printing process. Like it wasn't any fault of the printer. But I realized doing it for the first time that I went, oh, doing it this way is more prone to this issue, which for me, like I don't care. And I know some of my friends took them, and people like I had the B grades in like a little like gumball vending machine, which people really liked. Um, and folks didn't care. At the moment, that vending machine has very little in it, so um, I take the B grade pins and I kind of just like put them um, off to the side now, because at a certain point you get where like you can't just have like three in a, I had a very small number. But people will look at them and be like, oh, this is B grade, but it's printing on wood, so like you do have little imperfections on that can happen that are just the nature of like it's a smooth like it's a fairly smooth surface, but it's wood. Like it's you can kind of see on camera, I think. I'm trying to see if I can catch the shine of like yeah, the texture there. So, you know, if you're printing solid colors, it's gonna show up more, and I just don't think like there's ways to do it that I think would be a little better as far as my designs. So that's so like I like how this is where even stuff like this where it feels like a solid color, there's still like a lot of texture in the background. And so like if there were any little divots in that, it's not going to show up the same way. So again, if you are in Richmond this weekend, please come to the Carytown uh, Holiday Market. It's at City Stadium in Richmond. It's going to be like I've been to this market before. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of good people there. I'm actually excited about a couple of the food trucks because one looks like it does. I want to say it might be Vietnamese food, but they have like vegetarian options, which is always my trip up. Um, I'm not super strict about being. Technically, I'm pescatarian, but like you know, um, but but it's one of those things that I'm not super strict on it just because I'm doing it for more my own personal, environmental reasons, that sort of thing. Um, but I don't want to lose the enzymes to actually eat it if we had like a hurricane and then I needed to be somewhere else and I was not in control of the food. Like I don't want to have it where I can no longer eat chicken or whatever. But it is kind of cool when you find a food truck that specifically has stuff that like it fits but doesn't suck because a lot of people just phone it in when it comes to vegetarian stuff. Like I have seen so many terrible things where people were like, we just take all the extra veggies we have and we throw it in a burrito. And it's like that, you do have to think about what you're doing. Like, and so this is not how we, that one's kind of stuck on there, but it seems like it's fine. I'm not seeing any problems on it. So, but yeah, I do like that design. It has almost like for me like an almost like a retro feel to it, which I think is fun. Um, I don't usually do a lot of like graphic design. So for me, whenever I kind of can successfully play with text and images and do stuff like this, I always just feel so proud of myself because I don't have that background. I am not a graphic designer. Let's see. All right. I think we're almost done with like the rectangle-ish ones. So we'll get the stacks of about the others and then we'll glue them and then we'll take a break. But I think we still got a few more minutes, but not too far off. I was thinking like the 130, 145 marks. I think by 145, because again, the magnets will not take long. And my goal is to have those done very quickly just because I'm using E6000, which you definitely want to like ventilate. And like I said, I have some stuff going on here, but as far as like making sure like that, you know, that a window is open and whatnot, but I don't want to open all the windows. So if I glue it quickly and then put it outside in a box so that it just like it gets to sit overnight, um, then I don't have to worry about like if I did the other method, which is like, oh, let me pack it up in something and then let it air at the market. Well, then you run the risk of someone like picking it up and it still has like a smell to it. And because I have a terrible sense of smell, I'm not gonna know. So I want to make sure that these things are ready to roll and I don't have to like, worry about it. Because depending on me to get, maybe I should start peeling down by the words. I don't know, because I've had a couple of the Baltimore ones tear, the cover tear. Sometimes you can just sort of figure out, like, if I go in maybe this spot, because I'm thinking this has the in cuts, so it's not going to be, that's going to probably tear more easily. But maybe where the B in Baltimore is, maybe that would be a good. We'll see. Yep, that works better. And so I like that one. I have family in Baltimore. My dad's family's from Baltimore, so like it's a place that I really do like adore. Um, but so I kind of love making a design for it. But yeah, I'd like to make stuff for other places too. I just haven't thought through that. Needs to, like I said, you have to be careful. Like I'm pretty sure I couldn't make one for Chicago with the bean on it because the guy who made it's called like the Millennium Gate or whatever, but no one calls it that except for him. But and he's he's a bit of an ass. So if you've ever seen the Stuart Semple Anish Kapoor online drama between artists, uh, but yeah, but it's like, sure, would that be recognizable? Cool. Would I probably get sued? Yeah. Like I walk a fine line with some of this stuff because like you can see that this has a vibe to it. Like if you are a sports fan, you're gonna kind of tell that there's some baseball theming here. But I have not used anything copyrighted. So I have like I need to get the back on that. I've tried to walk that line carefully because I don't like if like someone did want to license me, whether it was like, you know, a fandom thing, like I mean, the dream would be like Disney, but like that doesn't happen that often. But I mean like if sports teams or whatever, like I would totally I don't have a problem doing it. But if I'm doing stuff on my own, I do like one of my special interests for like decades now has been intellectual property law. Um, so I do know I'm not a lawyer, but I do know enough to go, okay, I cannot use any of the logos. I cannot use, like, I can allude to things. Um, I can use, like, you can't, that did, see that. This is also where the tape is good because it'll just be on there. Um, but, like, I can't, like, I made a point to be, I used a font that is available in the Affinity programs and is eligible to be used without copyright problems. Like I didn't use the Orioles font. Um, I want to make sure that I don't cross those lines. It's just like Disney has that font for uh, uh, Walt Disney's signature, like has a font to it, his handwriting. Um, the Harry Potter font is a font that we also don't touch. And so that's gonna just tear. So we'll just do this. I don't know if you guys can, but like this is the pile of stickers of like the covers for the moment. Just been slowly making this stack of them. And so, it we're getting there. We're getting there though. Let's see, I probably can put these a little bit more on the screen. But yeah, okay, so it looks like I only did 4 designs. I think what I wanted to do was I wanted to do the moon, and it wasn't ready. And that's what I remember. I just was thinking that maybe I found an alternative, and I did not. Um, I usually try to get the stuff when they go on sale too. Like Zap does sales every so often on different things. Um, and that does make it easier. They are located in the UK, so there is like some tariff stuff. They have a coupon code to try to mitigate that at the moment because a lot of people in the US buy their stuff. So they're trying to work hard on that. Um, Thankfully, the tariffs on the UK are not that bad. I think it's like 10%, but it's still like a factor in there. So I usually try to like time it for sales. That also, so I don't have to buy like, I think there really is like 50 here. Um, Maybe it's more than that, but hold on. I would have done an even number. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So, sometimes they put like a few, like depending on what they're cutting, sometimes they'll put a few extras in there. Um, I've had this with sticker companies too, where if they're using like a whole sheet of something and there's just like a little bit of space left, they'll do it so they don't waste materials, but like you don't bank on it. Um, so just because there's 15 in that pile doesn't mean there's exactly 15, but I think there's 50-ish total. So I think that's initially what I was looking to order was like 10 of each, 5 designs. So I don't know. I will have to count all these, but I can do that. Like that's not a hard thing to do. Like doesn't need to be on stream. It just needs to be a note, probably first thing in the morning before I'm caffeinated, waiting for that to kick in, and I can just count things. Let's see. Come on. There we go. Yeah. It's a nice protective film, but it sticks, which I guess is a good thing, but it does it does make it a bit of a task. Like I said, it's very satisfying though. Like this is very, very satisfying. There we go. I am wondering what the size of these things. I do think because they're very, very lightweight. And I have like the magnets that I have. I grab. They're these little like, oh, nope. They also connect up, but like they're these kind of things, so they're like that size. I don't think it would take much just because these are solid. Um, so I think one will be enough. But what I may do here is I may start with a couple, and then I may bring glue with me to the show because I will put a couple on display. Well, no, because I wanted to get like tacky, like I want it to stay. So mm, it's really lightweight. It really should only need one magnet, and especially if I'm using E6000, it's gonna be on there. Like it's not coming off. It's not like if you've ever used E6000, shit is not coming off. Um, I guess I'm thinking of like when I did the pins, people really liked having the two. Like I asked people who like were avid either pin creators or pin like wearers, and they liked having the two pins so it didn't spin. But like you're not gonna have that problem with the magnet. Like the magnet is not gonna. It's just so big. I do wonder like if people were using it on their fridge, would they want like two magnets so that they could, pin like papers, because you put it dead center, then you're going to end up having like an inch and a half where the whatever whatever paper or something you put in the magnet, the magnet area, fridge, bulletin board, whatever, it would cover a bunch of it. So I'm almost leaning towards doing two so that it would, and putting them towards the edges so that they could be used in that way. So that may be what I do. It'll take a little bit longer, but it's, like I said, it's putting a dot of glue and putting it on there. Like this is, you don't need much E6000 to do this. Um, and so, and wood is porous, so like, I mean, E6000 bonds with everything, but like it gets into the wood and stuff pretty quickly. Because I'd actually had once where, and this is why I was considering it for a second here, um, where I had a couple of pins that came in, and the little like actual pins on the back of it, a couple of them didn't glue right in the order. Like I had done an order of a substantial number of pins, so like you're gonna have a few in there that something goes wrong just because it's how it goes. Um, and I remember gluing them at an outdoor market, and they were like they would set up and it was fine. Now, granted, the outdoor market was in the warmer months, so obviously that does help stuff set up. Because I do think having heat on things um, does do something. So I don't know how it's going to be when it could be snowing again this weekend. Um, Thankfully, it looks like it's just going to be like flurries and whatnot, that's fine. That's just aesthetic. People will still come out, especially Richmond. Richmond's a little bit more used to snow. Down here, if it starts being a flurry, you may not get people at your market. Um, so I hope it kind of doesn't happen down here, just because I know there's a bunch of stuff, holiday markets and events and stuff going on, and this area has, I mean, I would say Virginia in general is not all that fabulous on snow until you get to really like up towards DC. Um, but as far as I don't know how the western part of the state is, but I imagine they're a bit better since they deal with it more in the mountains. But um, I do not know from personal experience. But Hampton Roads does not deal with snow. Like only recently did we really start getting like salt on the roads. And even still, I will still see roads that will have sand on them. Um, and so, but you know, we do what we can. It's usually like repurposed trucks with a plow attachment on the front. I mean, because we don't use it that often, so like there's no point in just making it where you know, you have this equipment and it stays in storage for like multiple years before you ever use it. All right, this is all we got left, home stretch, um, at least on this project. But, you know, it is one of those things where um, it does make a difference when it does snow. All right, come on. There we go. Ta-da. Let's see. Oh, we're getting close to midnight, which isn't too bad. I don't, I may decide, especially since it's a test stream and it's still pinging me that it's unstable. Um, and I'm not seeing it anywhere else, just Twitch, which is, I don't know how to take that because nothing else, anything else I have monitoring it. I'm not seeing frames dropped. I'm not seeing, I don't know. But what I may do is I may set these up and glue them. And then instead of taking a break, I may end the stream just because I do want to see, you know, I probably wouldn't stream again until next week when I get back from the market. Um, and hopefully have like some stories and have had some sales and whatever to kind of like go through, if anyone has questions, chat about that stuff. Um, but I am thinking that because like I said, it keeps popping up. And I haven't seen anything. I don't see like lags and problems really. I'm not seeing things in dropped frame rate, so I'm really just gonna just, and I presume the replay would show me. I know the recording, because I do have OBS set up to like record at the same time. The recording's not going to catch it because it's getting, obviously straight from my computer. It's not dealing with the stream per se, but maybe the replay? I don't know. But I'm thinking if I drop either like I said, some of this, like, I don't know if it's the bit rate or the frame rate. I do know that right now it's saying the frame rate is 60 frames per second, and that seems like a bit much for an art channel. Like, even if I play video games, because I do have a couple of like art-based games that I think would be really fun to like play with. Um, but, but, those are not ones that would require like 60 frames per second. But I'm gonna have to probably look something up and see why it's giving me warnings. There's probably just some setting I can reduce. So it might be the best thing is to like finish up this, glue these suckers, and then end the stream for tonight so that I can figure out what the problem is. Because so far no one in the chat has told me that they've noticed a problem. Um, so if you do see something, since it's popped up and it's warning me again, oh great. Like it goes away and I think I'm safe and then it just kind of comes back. Um, like if you notice something, feel free to let me know. Because I don't don't yeah, I don't see anything. So like I said, I don't know if it's Twitch, I don't know if it's this, but I will look it up. But I'm thinking it'll give me a chance to problem solve. Um, and really, like I said, I have other like little tasks to do, but this was the bulk of it. Um, and I can obviously like I can pull more stuff out. Like I have to do, it's nice to do a quick inventory and stuff like that before I go to a show. Like how many greeting cards am I taking, stuff like that. But like, this was the new stuff. So this was the new product. So like I said, that stuff it can be like cozy co-working stuff, but I don't know that that's necessary for like tonight. And that is stuff that I can get away at. Like if I don't get it done tonight, I can like count at the show. Because usually I put out like when it comes to like prints and greeting cards, when I will put a certain number out of each design, and then I will have the back stock. And that way, like if someone did come up and a kid grabbed stuff or whatever, like I'm not losing everything, but it also helps on just space when you've got the display. Like I don't need all of these out at one time. I have a board. Some of them will go up there, and the rest will be in a bin waiting their turn. Um, but it is one of those things that I can get away with that doing it in the show because I imagine the show opens at 10, 10 a.m. both days, I believe. And like, there's going to be some people who come right at 10 a.m. There's always those people. But like, it tends to be a little bit of a slower start. Um, so I can get away with that. Or I can bring in a bin or something. I can have stuff because I'm not going to leave my product overnight, so I can do that at my brother's place and like I don't know while we're watching a TV show or something. Like it's mindless. I can do it. So this is the stuff that really, like I said, the magnets really need to air overnight. I can do a certain number of them at the show. Like I've done that before with pins and whatever that I had to fix on the fly. Um, but like if I don't have to, especially if I put two magnets on these, because I really think I'm going to put two magnets. I think that's going to be a better product for people. So I really would like that to sit outside and air, and that way there's not a thing. And it's not supposed to rain or snow or anything tonight, so that's a good time to do it because it has been. Because I have been procrastinating. I mean, absolutely. Like I'm not going to get myself away on that one. I've absolutely procrastinated. Um, but if you are neurodivergent, you know how it goes. Um, but it is one of those things where between the freezing rain and snow we had earlier in the week, we actually had snow collect in December, which is just what? What? Um, like I couldn't put this outside in this because it would get damaged. That's not, but it should be fine. It should be fine tonight. And even if I brought it in, at a certain point, I don't know, depending on when I actually go to bed, if I didn't want like say the morning dew or whatever to get on it, it could still sit pretty close to like where that ventilation is, um, but it wouldn't get damaged. But I could even in the morning, because it, I could put it back outside before I leave because I don't have to leave, until the afternoon. Um, so yeah, so this was the stuff I needed to get done and started and like, really get the process wrapped up on. These last couple ones must have been the ones they quality checked because they were already half peeled. Um, yeah. All right. So I was doing so well, getting everything in one swoop. And that is not peeling a whole new piece of tape for this last thing. There we go. All right. So our pile at the end is this. So that is what we got. So, all right. So now glue and magnets. Okay, I have a whole pile of these magnets. I am trying to keep it away from the tech because that is how it goes. I did check these on like my fridge and whatnot earlier, because I was trying to see like how these like stick, and either side sticks to like a fridge, but obviously either side does not stick to each other. So I do think what I'm going to end up doing is having them automatically repel each other, just to make life easier on that. Um, but they do just stick. So that's fine. We'll put that there. I don't need my orange tape anymore. We'll put that off to the side. And then we will shift. And I do have, what I'll end up doing is I'll end up like stacking these up on my desk and probably just putting them like face down with the magnet and stacking them. But I do have a box, and what I'll end up doing is putting them in the box and then taking that outside so that as I do everything else tonight, it can air, and I'll just bring it in, before I actually have to uh, do, well, I'm concerned about over. We're not getting a precipitation, but as I said earlier, sometimes you do get morning dew, and I was thinking about that because the art market last year, um, definitely had, well, it was a couple years ago actually, where I left my tablecloths overnight because they lock the stadium. I just don't leave product. I don't have a way to really lock that up, in an outdoor market. But the tablecloths actually were kind of damp first thing in the morning. So I'm like, well, with the wooden stuff, I don't really want to tinker with it. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that if I put these, if I just put them with maybe just do it like this, and that way people just kind of put it towards the edges so that people can stick them on their fridge however they like. So this I'm going to try to go quickly because it is E6000, and like I said, I do have like some ventilation, but I don't really, that was probably a bit more than I needed. Kind of do that. You really don't need a lot, but I'm trying to smear it around so that it actually, there we go. Okay, maybe if I put these, oh. I was trying to lay them out on the table to, um, make it where I could easily grab them, and they are very determined to stick together. So great. Um, no, don't stick to my my tripod for my web camera. Um, cool, cool, cool. I need to have a little card or something for like the E6000 to sit on. This is one of my cut in half index cards for language learning. Okay, so we'll just kind of have to peel it off the top is what we're gonna have to do. And then just hope that these things don't attract but so much. I'll put it by the top. Okay. I am gluing the top. I'm gluing the top. I'm trying to remember what I determined I was doing. Because like I said, both sides stick. I'm not really worried about that. Oh, they actually already stick together. My concern is going to be the glue drying, but that's one of those things that it can actually sit like that. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, remember to glue the top. Like I said, thankfully it sticks the same way on the fridge, but I do want them to match, you know? It does make things easier. And I do think long term, if I were packing those up tomorrow, that I will probably put like a note card or something in between each of them because I don't want them to like scratch. Like tonight, huh, that doesn't. Magnets are weird. Okay. So they don't all stick, even though I'm doing it the same way. They all stick to the metal that I've got here to like test. But like, okay. Oh, I'm getting, my hands are gonna get definitely dirty by the end of this. But yeah, I will probably put these into like, I have some like glassine sleeves, so those may not be a bad thing to do. Because I think they'd be just big enough to maybe fit these. But that would keep them from like, these magnets are rounded on the edges, so like I don't anticipate them really scratching each other, but I don't know. I don't want to play with it. Because it's one thing to like have a B grade product hasn't it happens by accident, but like if I'm just being careless, I don't really want to have that issue. And so I'm also thinking that if I drink my tea, I am gonna have to like not touch my teacup right now as I slowly, because it's, I'm sure it'll wash off, but like that's a light colored porcelain. Um, I didn't realize the magnets were gonna slowly dirty my hands. So I'm gonna have to just watch. I'm touching the edges of each one of these wooden pieces too. That way it's just not like, and I'm not gripping it, firmly. So I think that should make it where it's not too much of an issue. Okay. Eeh. Yeah, it's like they can't figure out what to do. Some of them want to repel in weird ways from each other. Like I said, they all stick to the fridge, but okay. But yep, still getting the unstable notification. Hasn't gone away this time. So I don't know. I don't know. Doing what I can, but I will have to kind of look up and see why it's being a jerk. Again, if you're noticing an issue, feel free to drop that in the chat because I'm not seeing it on my side besides Twitch just having, and it's funny, like it's a notification, but it's in the middle of like the dashboard in a way that's just really hard to see. So if it wasn't a different color for me to, and I'm very like I notice colors, so like that stood out to me. Um, but I don't know that that would stand out to most people. It's funny though, because I have on my second monitor one version of the dashboard so that I could see, some of the stuff that I couldn't see before, like certain things. Because I have the tablet version down here, and I'm not getting any of these warnings. I'm not getting any of the things. But also, I, can't. see everything that's in the manager. So I'm not, and I probably just don't know how to use it right, but I'm like, I'm not getting notifications on this one. So I don't know. We'll find out. That'll have to be, unless someone happens to know that Twitch has issues with this, I will have to research it later. Let's see, that's just a scratch on it. But sometimes doing these tasks like this are just very like meditative, you know? Like it's simple, but I don't have to think too much. There's other tasks that I do that require a bunch of thinking. This is not one of them. It is just gluing. Although pulling the magnets apart is starting to bother my hands. Some of the joints where I have the arthritis, so this is why I'm not worried about the magnets sticking well, because it's taking quite a bit to pull it off from each other. This is also why I'm using the E6000. Like, I know this is going to be a thing. So, okay. I've been sitting on these like little magnets for a while though, so I'm kind of glad to be able to use them. Like, I'm going to blow through quite a few of them tonight. Um, so I have a whole stockpile of these. Because I thought for a while I was going to do magnets, but I hadn't done the thing, hadn't figured out like it's a whole process. Um, and I hadn't gotten it straightened out yet. So it's kind of nice to be able to use the supplies because honestly, that is one of the things with with art supplies. It's like there's two hobbies, doing the art and collecting the supplies. And I would prefer to really lean more into the first hobby. Can I get this is there we go. Say we're starting to I have more of these little tubes. I know you can buy the big tubes. I bought like a pack of the small ones because one of my problems is when if I'm doing a big project, cool, but I'm still not going to use a whole bottle. And then I end up like with this sealed shut bottle of E6000. And I've had a couple of tubes go awry that way. So I'm like, okay, it's annoying to deal with the small tubes, but if I can, ooh, my headset's also dying. It usually gives that warning at like, I think 10 or 20% power. So that, again, might be a good time to stop uh, after I get through the magnets. But it should charge quickly enough in my for my own future reference. I should charge pretty quickly within the um, oh, if I do it like that, it doesn't really. Okay, cool. I'm just figuring out how to lay these down because when I put them in the box, I don't want them to really stick together too much. So if I kind of put it where one of the magnets, there two are vertical and two are horizontal, like obviously I'm just twisting my shapes, but it actually they don't they seem like they're spaced just far enough that they don't try to stick together, which is great. Because again, I don't want it to be where like it's hard to separate them or they scratch. Like I'm gonna have to separate them, but at least this thing will get tacky for a little bit before I do that. Okay, last of the elephants. And I will have whatever's left over from the market. These are going to go on my website next week. And I mean, if they happen to sell out, then I will reorder. Um, I just got small batches because I wasn't sure how they would do. So, but I will have these. I will have them online. And it might just take me a few days to at least get it. If it sells out, I'll probably put it up as a pre-order. just because that's what I usually do so people can find stuff if something happened to sell out when they saw it. Um, there we go, that is sticking. All right, I think this tube has about had it. So we're gonna put this in the trash can. I have another tube. I also need more magnets. I have kind of a ridiculous supply of magnets. Like I have like four more of these. So, so we are covered. All right. Maybe we'll do the Baltimore ones next, and then that way, because the other designs are smaller, so they'll stack differently. So just kind of maybe do this, clean up my space a little bit. If I can get like two stacks. All right. Yeah, if I try to put it too close to that stack, it's gonna fly back over to it. All right. Oh, it's not. All right. What do I have to puncture it? This might be my sign. We are at right at the 2 hour mark. I will still have to finish gluing these, but I need to find. I know I've got a tool I can use. I have to find something, and I know I'm going to need this for other. So for other tubes because I'm probably going to run through probably this one at least, and I'll want to bring one with me just in case you know. It, it's always good to have in your bag at art shows when you have handmade products. Right. So this is probably a good time for me to sign off because I have to find a thing to do this. And then I will get that first batch of magnets outside. Um, Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Um, I appreciate you listening to me ramble. Um, I will try to stream again more regularly, doing some actual live painting. I am considering doing some live streams of video games that are more like artsy, art-based sort of things, um, and kind of doing that as a little bit of variety too. So feel free to reach out to me on various socials. I am La Prima Nerda on pretty much all of the main ones. Uh, so, and if you're in Richmond this weekend, I hope I see you at the Carytown Market. And if I don't, have a great week. Bye.